Hello there. Hello there. Hello there. YouTube's, Twitch's, all the rest of it. You saw the pig intro. It's a fucking happy hour. I am Kevin Logan. Very much the weak pull-out game of leftist Twitter and Twitch. Joining me as ever, it's the wicked-ass psephologist. That P is silent, but that still works as the acronym. Dr. Kristi Winters.
Hey, Kevin. Anyone else want a Big Mac truck parked in their little garage out there tonight?
I've heard there's some fucking not-so-little garages out there. Just saying. Hey? Hey?
Yeah, so we've got really important political news for you tonight. No, we have drama.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some important news later on. Bookmarks is usually up and down, isn't it?
Yeah, Bookmarks is pretty much the emotional roller coaster of the show.
And we've got some things that are very serious but aren't news.
Yes.
Their history, so, you know.
Well, it is an educational show about politics and dick jokes.
And those are two things aren't always separate when it comes to, like, Anthony Weiner or something, so...
This is true.
It's true.
This is true, because it's his name is just funny.
And Andy was sending out dick pics as... What was his name?
Yeah.
Carlos Danger.
No, yeah. Oh, that reminds me of... Yeah, it was John Oliver when he did that bit all summer long. John... No, it was John Oliver who's taking over for John... Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. All these white people look the same to me.
Something Danger.
Yeah, Carlos Danger. That was
Carlos?
That was the alias he used for his dick pickings, which is arguably more
like,
stupid than Anthony Weiner. He's already called Dick Weiner. Like what? Anyway,
memories.
Indeed. What memories they were, hey? Indeed. Anyway, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Yeah, I had, the first half of the day, I don't know. I take vacation, and then I just use it to clean my house, which kind of undermines the purpose of a vacation, doesn't it? But as I posted on Twitter, the big thing that happened to me today was that I got a smoothie blender. I think I mentioned this to you a couple shows ago.
You did.
I also really overestimated how much fruit I needed for a smoothie. And as a consequence, I had all of this fruit. So this morning I blended 2 liters worth of smoothies and I've frozen most of it.
2 liters? Fucking hell.
I still have like half the fruit left. I'm not going to touch.
What did you buy?
I'm not going to touch solid food for the rest of the month.
How much fucking food did you buy? That's ridiculous.
Well, this is it. Like, it only takes, 2 apples and a couple of kiwi, and boom, you're done. And I was like, oh, shit, I've got so much. I thought they, really blend down, but they don't.
That's... I don't know how much fruit she bought. But I don't think the city of Cologne will be getting its 5 a day anytime soon.
Oh, there's plenty of fruit.
Anyway, yes.
We're still part of the EU.
Well, indeed, yes. You don't have empty shells.
No.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day to those who do that. Yeah.
It's adopted American holiday just to drink.
Yes, well, it's the same everywhere, basically. But as my father, as an Irishman, said, "You fucking English have ruined it." Fair enough. I didn't realize I was a part of that. Well, because he oh god, basically he's like a white version of an Indian parent. In that everything's brilliant back home and this is a bit shit, but actually, why did you fucking come here then? Why are you here? You could go back.
Got it.
Like, it's fine.
Oh, I get it. He could moan for Ireland as an Olympic sport.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and I did just pull a go back to your home country to my own father there. Yes, that is true. I did do that. I was racist to the man surrounding the set of bulls I came out of, yes.
Yeah. Yes, pretty much. If you don't like it, love it or leave it. But that you couldn't say that because you hate it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
how about we leave together?
Oh no, I don't want to get rid of the cunt, for fuck's sake. I don't want him following me, fucking hopping around moaning. Jesus. By the way, I'm only joking. It's a bit of humour, bit of humour for you there. Anyway, so Kristi. We need to take a moisture gauge for American politics, I think.
Yeah, apparently, occasionally, since a certain song came out, conservatives just decide to blow their fucking tops for for the free speech people, they are also at the same time incredibly censorious.
Yes, they are indeed. So the popular music song WAP, or WAP if you're American and therefore pronounce things wrong, which stands for wet ass p word being the word for female genitalia.
Ew.
If I can quote Ben Shapiro, my broadcasting idol. More on him later. By the way, do you like my thumbnail work? I am nothing if not one of the world's foremost Windows Paint artists.
Very, 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 very cringe. Very, very, very cringe.
I changed a thing, and it did the noise.
You did. Are you happy?
I am very happy it happened.
I'm happy for
wow,
you.
That's
Look
actually,
at that.
That's pretty dope as well. Anyway, I'm glad we broke Caleb's cherry on the show with that. Good. Anyway, I'll get to that in a second. So, yes, a popular music song, WAP, sexually explicit, there's no doubt.
Slightly.
But no more sexually explicit than the songs of Kiss or Led Zeppelin, who would sing about like eating pussy and fucking and stuff like that.
Yeah, squeeze the lemon till the juice runs down my leg.
Yes, indeed. Or the infamously delightful piece of poetry, Love Gone, which I think he might have been singing about his cock.
Can I also just say that the radio edit version of that song is almost incomprehensible because of all of the silent words dropping out and the replacements.
Yeah.
So, even that version is not that, that version is hardly anything. And as well, all of the dance moves in the Grammy performance, everyone's been doing. There was nothing new in that. I mean, there was kind of a cool move that Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B did sort of near the end, but they didn't scissor. They just kind of entwined their legs and did some acrobatics. It was really, I wouldn't have noticed it had it not been
their pussies would have been closer if they just stood next to each other.
Yes, or hugged.
Yeah. What? Anyway. No, I'm not a fan of the Philadelphia Flyers. That's gritty. It's a leftist meme. It's a thing. Anyway, so Executioner gives $20. That's supremely generous of you. I feel like I should go above and beyond. I'm talking butt stuff, okay? Keep up the great work, Kevin.
Not just one finger.
Not just one finger. I'm talking up to the fucking elbow. Like I'm inseminating a cow.
Work your way up.
I will touch your heart both metaphorically and literally if you want. Okay? Keep up the great work, Kevin. Well, I feel like I've just undercut that message, if I'm honest. Here is a decent meal on me. Take care, comrade. Does it look like I'm short on meals? I will be spending it on heroin to lose weight, I think. I think that's what I'll be doing.
Oh, Kevin.
But that's illegal, and crimes are bad, so I won't be doing that. And thank you to Amjam Smackam Jams. Okay. For following. Yes. Oof. Anyway, so now we've got that nonsense out of the way. Kristi. And I can't tell, right? Now I've just realised what's been annoying me, right? The nerd thing starts with a car sound, right?
Yes.
And you're outside your window, so I don't know if I need to wait for a second for the nerd thing to happen or whether that's just outside your fucking window.
Generally, the traffic outside of my window does not sound like a squealing tire, so I think you're best off just assuming that it's going to be for you. We get rumbles, we get revs. We don't really get squealing tires.
You do get nerds, though.
Yes.
Anyway, so...
I am one, so I understand them.
Indeed. I think, aren't we all, really? Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B sung popular music. They performed at the Grammys, because that's still a thing, apparently. Yeah. And I felt very old. I don't know about you. Because I didn't watch it live, because obviously it's the fucking Grammys. No one watches it. And the only reason anyone's talking about it is because of this. They did a performance of the song, some sexual-ish dance moves.
Yeah.
And I felt so old because basically I looked at some of the clips of it and stuff and the different awards, and I didn't know any of the fuckers. Who the fuck is Doja Cat? What the fuck is that thing? Is that a person? Is that a disease? I felt so old, and apparently I looked them up. They're a popular music artist of some variety. I couldn't name one song.
Yeah, music and like having the time and disposable income. I guess video games probably took up a lot of that too, but it just seems to be like very much a youth market directed thing.
To be fair,
like
it
live
kind of
concerts
always has been to a degree.
Yeah, it has for a while.
I don't think
yeah.
there were many 60-year-olds wetting themselves to the Beatles.
No. So, I mean, in some ways, you were bound to look at the Grammys and be like, I feel old, because it's not about you.
Who or what is The Weeknd? Is that what's that?
Don't look at me. No, I'm not really like, I don't listen to top 40 American radio.
Nope.
That's not a thing. I was happy to leave that behind when I moved to Europe.
Yep, so that's the thing. Anything post like 2009, 10, I'm iffy. I'm iffy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, once I stopped watching Nevermind the Buzzcocks,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it went downhill after Mark Lamar.
I don't know. I thought Simon Amstel was pretty funny. I mean, Noel Fielding was on. I saw him. No, someone I knew saw him perform. He said he was very good. But then I watched his Netflix thing, and it was really self-indulgent and kind of whiny. But anyway, we're well off the
Noel
topic.
Fielding is... I like the Mighty Boosh's...
Simon Amstel.
Oh, Simon Amstel.
Simon Amstel, yeah.
I was about to say,
yes.
Noel Fielding's works for the Mighty Boosh, but his stand-up is fucking shit.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother. I mean, yeah, I think he's better in like a improv situation or some sort of
Is this
cast
broadcast? We are just talking now.
We literally
people
are just
listening
talking
to this?
126 people who have nothing better to do with their time.
And 39
so,
on Twitch. So.
Thank you.
Again,
Welcome
I've
all.
always said this, right? People watching this, that's more a condemnation of you than it is a plus for my broadcasting skills. Like it says a lot
you're
more about
punishing
you.
yourself.
Yeah,
in this case.
indeed.
Yes.
Anyway, so they did a dance. The two people I had heard of, although again, I will bear in mind, I had not heard of Megan Thee Stallion until Ben Shapiro sang a bit of one of her songs, which was this song.
Or her lyrics in the song.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's a sexually explicit song. They did a thing. The right wing went mental about it last summer when it was released. And now they're going mad about this because apparently this is the end of Western civilization.
Oh,
That's not
yeah.
a joke. That's not a joke. Wait for the bookmarks. It's fucking mental.
Yeah. People
yeah.
lost their fucking minds.
Yeah, they've got literally Kristi and Fundy's turning virtually ISIS. Again,
Can I just say, like,
wait for the bookmarks.
Here's the thing. Men, I should like cis het men. Because I don't know of a lot of like,
scum, yes.
well, artists sing about their penis all the time. They sing about blowjobs. They sing about banging people. They sing about sex all the time.
Yeah.
And yet when women do it, say Madonna back in the 80s, Cardi B today, it is demonized completely disproportionately to if you look at how much cock is discussed, it's men talking about, cis men talking about their cocks more than anyone else. Anyone else. They talk about theirs the most, yet this is outrageous.
No, when Robert Plant sang Whole Lot of Love, he meant that in the entirely platonic sense. So...
Sure.
Check. Mate. Anyway, so let's take a look at this bollocks. Anyway, where are we? Main window. Boom. Mm-hmm. So Kristi's got this. I know nothing about this person or their content.
Yeah, they just did a good summary, and I just thought, well, we'll like lift up a creator who's put some effort in and give them.
This is a person called Camille's Corner. I'll put the link to this video in the chat for everyone.
You might have to size it down a little bit. There you go.
Hey guys, welcome back to Camille's Corner. So y'all, it went down on Twitter a while ago between Cardi B and Candace Owens. Yup, again. Y'all, this is like a monthly ritual between the two of them now, okay? Candace gets upset at something sexual that Cardi B did, and Cardi B drags her, and we're all entertained, and then we move on until the next time. But, it's getting tiring now, okay? This time, Candace is upset about Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's performance of WAP at the Grammys. So, y'all, Candace did an interview on Fox where she basically said that Cardi B is the reason for the destruction of America.
The same.
Yeah.
What song that's not even popular anymore?
I mean, it would have been a very different take on the song, but I don't know why Osama bin Laden didn't try that method.
Yeah,
He
why
went with
didn't
the
he
terrorism. Turns out, just do a song about women fucking. So.
Yes, just have American women singing about sexual things, and that's enough for Destroy America. Just boom, that's it. It's gone.
Yeah. I hope the person now, all caps, Haruka, naturally, all capsing lyrics to Whole Lotta Love, understands that I was joking, and that song is definitely about getting his dick wet. Yeah, I know. I know. That was the joke I was doing. But thank you nonetheless for serenading us, albeit in shouted form. Anyway.
Same time, Tucker, that we have kids that are not learning hard academics anymore in school, right? Forget about mathematics and science. You can trust the science and trust Dr. Fauci, but you have these kids learning.
How did they manage to get Fauci in there? That's what she said.
Also, kids are being taught math. Kids are being taught science. It's not like when you have an idea like critical race theory that you have to move other subjects out of the way. It's just, she's just talking such shit.
Well, she's talking Fauci when she should be talking Coochie. Yes.
Learning about critical race theory. They're learning that they should aspire to people like Cardi B. That you see that fundamentally we are seeing the destruction of American values, American principles, and it's terrifying. I think parents should be terrified that this is the direction that our society is heading.
It's not even subtle. They're literally saying you should be terrified. Be
scared.
terrified.
Be very scared. Be scared of a black woman talking about her own sexuality. This is terrifying, white people. The sky is falling. And look at fucking Tucker's face.
Oh,
honestly, look at that man's fucking face.
Look at him. Look at that weird little face. Never a thought has passed behind those eyes.
No. He's like, oh, is there a mouse? And then I watched the squirrels, and they were married. And
yeah. It'd be quite funny if after she started speaking, she had me listening, she just went, whatever happened to space hoppers? What happened to them?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a new flavour of crisp I quite like. Just completely blanked out. He doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah. Checked out completely.
Yeah.
Towards. And again, we are weakening America. That's really what we should be talking about. This is a weakening of American society.
It's a weakening of the pull-out game, certainly.
Yes. Make that pull-out game weak.
Indeed.
I thought you were happy about that because you want people to procreate because women aren't pushing out enough babies for you for free.
Not brown babies.
Oh, yeah.
Silly. Although I will give Candace Owens top marks. She did do a bit of miscegenation, so I'll give her that.
Yes.
Little brown baby. Good
Not
stuff.
that we care. Don't.
No, I do. No, I want all white people to be bred out of existence. I don't even know, like, because I'm doing that so deadpan. I don't know if people if that is coming across that's actually a joke. By the way, Nazis, feel free to clip that. It makes me hard making you angry. So.
That's what Kevin lives for.
Stage, and it feels like we are looking at corrosion, like we are about to see.
And there's
the
nothing
end
I love
of an
more than spilling white seed. So.
Yes. It's very
I am
corrosive.
the onan of left-wing praxis.
empire. America
You can quote me on that.
cannot survive. It cannot be sustained under these sorts of values and principles.
First of all, really, Candace? Y'all, I get that Cardi B has vulgar lyrics, okay? And she is a bit of an exhibitionist. And I really think that Cardi B does these things for shock value. But the destruction of America is pushing it, okay?
Well, I mean, true, but Elvis Presley shook his hips, Salt and Pepper sang in the way they did about, let's talk about
Push
sex, baby.
Oh, right, that song. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about
all pop
the
music.
good
You either have to be really, really good or really, really shocking or some combination of the two.
Yeah, to stand out.
Yeah.
Catch attention. Mm-hmm.
Because everyone can do, I love you.
It's called capitalism,
yes, I do.
Candace.
Like, it's boring. You have to do something innovative with it.
They're actually working successfully within the capitalist system you praise, Candace. Supply and demand.
Exactly. But that's destroying America, except it's not, because that's cronyism when it's destroying America or something. black people.
The rules are very. Where's the flow chart for when capitalism is good and bad on the right? I'm not sure.
Bilderberg, with 20 bits, says, one day Tucker will slowly fall forward as he drifts off to sleep, then will quickly rise back up with Rupert Murdoch poo round his mouth. What, you think Rupert Murdoch... Hang on, I'm going to have to... Right, the physics of this are amazing. So Rupert Murdoch, like a 90-year-old man, is bent over naked with an unwiped arse as the desk that Tucker Carlson uses to broadcast from.
Well, I'm just going to say as an alternative interpretation that, Tucker could just be very enthusiastic about his depth. And it doesn't have to be a dirty ass. He could just get in there. No.
A clean arse. It's going to be difficult for you to have a noticeable brownness upon the face. There's going to need to be a certain amount of caking, is all I'm going to say. Okay? And not just that, but you're not contending the nonsense of him bent over in front of Tucker Carlson. That's a normal part of the story. That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, it was really just the poo transfer that I was questioning there.
Yeah.
Mechanically.
The adhesive nature of...
I can't believe people watch us talk shit like this.
I can't either, but here they are. And more for them, really.
Really.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to contribute to the continuation of this nonsense, streamlabs.com/KFLogan1875. Yes, I've got no shame. I will ask for money after that. Yeah. And
1875.
And subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on the Twitch. Give me Jeff Bezos' money and subscribe with Prime on Twitch. Or with
I'm still having... All right. I'm just going to say, I connected one of my Twitch accounts, and both times I tried to subscribe to you, it wanted me to pay a monthly fee. And then I didn't, because I thought it was going to offer me the subscription. But
yeah, no, because I blocked you. No, fuck you. You're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
I said,
someone's going to have to help me.
No. Someone help Kristi. Someone help Kristi. I don't know how to do it.
I mean, I have supported you on Patreon for 3 years now. But if it's not any more money if it goes through my Amazon account.
You've supported me in so many more ways. I feel like if I ever acknowledged any of them, that would make me look a good friend. And that's not what I'm about. But thank you to everyone who supports me.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, you
Kevin
have police
couldn't do
brutality,
this without you.
Racism, terror.
Well, I could.
Well, you'd have to do your job, and which means you'd be on air a lot less often.
My light's going mental. Yes, true. Indeed.
Terrorism, all kinds of things. But WAP is the thing you think will bring down the American empire? Y'all, I never knew WAP was so powerful, okay? But now I'm glad to have one because I might need to bring down an empire.
Sorry, we talked over her. We spoke over her saying police violence and other things, which was just a couple seconds back. But she was saying, there's a lot of things that are threatening America, like police violence and things, and WAP is not one of them, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Someday. But anyway, y'all, Cardi B gets into these arguments so often that I'm starting to think she does it on purpose. Okay, but this one went a little too far, and now Candace is threatening to sue Cardi B. So I'm going to try to break down what happened.
Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech.
And I'm going to skip a few things because the two of them were tweeting each other back and forth for hours, and I'm not going to read y'all all of that. So I'm just going to summarize what happened, okay? So basically, all of this started because Candace had a problem with Cardi B and Megan's Grammy performance.
Apparently, Kristi, I'm being told you have to scroll down to the bottom of the subscription tab in order to use your Prime. Yeah, I don't know.
Bottom of the subscription tab? All right.
And she said it was a bad example to children and to women, and that Cardi B is destroying black culture. And Cardi B posted it and basically said, well,
Jesus Christ. Wowza. Snowflake alert.
She was on screen for about 4 minutes. Nobody had to watch her. No one was forced to watch that. Yeah. Parents should know when WAP is going to be performed, maybe turn the channel over for the next 10 minutes and watch it on YouTube later. I mean,
yeah, go on.
This is the party that wants to go on about personal responsibility. Well, isn't it the responsibility of parents to make sure the content their kids sees is something that they approve of? So what we're supposed to, like, Cardi B is supposed to censor herself so parents don't have to do the job. When did that become the job of artists? When did capitalism say that that's how things worked? It doesn't work for anybody else except for people they don't like.
True. Also, definitely time to get my cock out on this one, I reckon.
Oh yeah.
Logan's amazing conservatives of cancel culture. Cocks and penis.
Yes, Candace Owens not for the first and presumably last time cancelling people, even though she's so terribly against cancel culture, apparently.
It's terrible. Yeah, cancel culture.
Exactly.
Thanks for the free promotion. And Candace clapped back and she said Cardi B should be using her position of power to do something more positive and uplifting. And Cardi B clapped back and questioned why Candace didn't have the same energy for Melania Trump when Melania used to pose naked for magazines. And Cardi actually posted the explicit...
No way. Which she says, worth a read, I think. No, Candy, men treat women on how a woman allows a man to treat them. I mean, look at Melania. She was a porn star. However, she didn't allow Trump to treat her as so or shame her for her past and made her into a first lady and a mother of his child. That's a bit grandiose, but I get the intention.
Yeah. Well, she's basically taking the most charitable view of Melania to undermine Candace.
Indeed.
Here.
Explicit photos of Melania on Twitter. I'm not reposting it here. But Candace replied and said the difference between Cardi B and...
What is HelloFresh? HelloFresh is a meal.
Oh, fuck you, adverts.
I go online. And
one of these days you really are going to
Melania is
ad blocker, right? One day.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
that Melania has evolved, and those photos were from her younger days. But she said Cardi B has not evolved.
Hang on, what the fuck? I don't know the exact ages, but Cardi B won't be that different in age than Melania was when those pictures were taken.
Probably not. Yeah.
Just shut the fuck up, Candace, man. Jesus.
Yeah, really. Just shut the fuck up, Candace.
Let me pause here, okay? I don't get this argument because Cardi B is 28 years old and Melania is 50, okay? Melania has had time to evolve. So I don't think it's fair to say, well, Melania has evolved and matured because you're comparing her to a 28-year-old. But moving on, y'all, Candace had very strong feelings about the Grammy performance and she called it disgusting and damaging to women everywhere. And to me, this is just selective outrage.
How is it damaging to women everywhere? What?
It's not. It really isn't. Like, people who find her attractive got a little bit sexually aroused and then they moved on with their life. That's all that happened.
True.
That's literally all that happened.
Okay, because Cardi B is not the first entertainer to have explicit lyrics and explicit performances, and I've never seen Candace address anyone else. Just to give a few examples, okay, Miley Cyrus had a very controversial VMA performance some years ago. There was that moment with Britney Spears and Madonna making out on stage. There was this moment with Nicki Minaj gyrating on a dildo. Like, entertainers have been selling sex for a very long time. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying it's hypocritical to call out Cardi B for doing it and not anybody else. Y'all, Cardi B is just using a formula that has worked for a really long time, okay? Sex sells and entertainers know that. And I feel like if people want that to change, then it's not the artist that has to change. It's the consumer that has to change, because if people weren't buying it and enjoying it, then these entertainers wouldn't be doing it. So I just feel like if Candace really wants this over-sexualized culture to change, then she needs to call out the consumers. But then the problem with doing that is people like what they like, and you can't tell people what to enjoy. Okay, some people are going to enjoy gossip.
Yes, you can. Christians have been doing it for fucking millennia.
That's true, but you can't really do it effectively. But I see your point. Yeah.
Indeed.
I mean, she
music?
could, but imagine if Candace just started yelling at the American people and telling them they were all trash for watching it. She couldn't do that because she depends on them for her money.
Exactly. So just say, literally just say, be afraid, be very afraid.
Yeah, be terrified. You should be terrified.
Is Cardi B's pussy so powerful that it's the most dangerous thing in America?
Apparently, she is like the most powerful woman in America.
That's not just bomb ass pussy. That's atomic bomb ass pussy. That's all I'm saying.
Atomic bomb. What did you say? Atomic pussy.
Atomic bomb ass pussy. Come on now, Kristi. Please.
Riot, and then add riot at the end of there. Pussy riot.
Okay, well, I see what you've done. Bit white,
Yes.
but you know.
And some people want music that they could twerk to, and Cardi B caters to that crowd. So if you don't enjoy her music, if it's not your thing, then just don't listen to it. But it's like Candace doesn't seem to understand that she can't force her values on everybody else. Y'all, I get that Candace might be this conservative type of person and she doesn't like sexual lyrics and performances, but there are millions of people who do. And I mean, this whole argument that Cardi B is being a bad example to children, it's just ridiculous to me, and I've said that on here so many times. Like, I am a Cardi B fan, and my children do not know a single Cardi B song. That's where parenting comes in.
Yep.
And you know, I remember some time ago, Cardi B was live and she was listening to WAP, and as soon as her kid walked in the room, she was scrambling to take it off. There was also a similar incident where Shenseea was live and she was twerking and listening to some vulgar music, and her son walked in the room, and as soon as he walked in, she was scrambling to get it off too, okay? And if you know Shenseea, she's like the Caribbean Cardi B, okay? Her lyrics are very sexual and very vulgar as well. But these entertainers know that their music is
Well, surely if they're a Caribbean, it would be Bacardi B. Thank you. Thank you.
Very, very nice.
not for children, and that's why they protect their own children from it. So how hard is it for other parents to do the same thing? And again, if you're doing your job as a parent, even if your child is exposed to these kinds of lyrics, they would have the right values to know the difference between entertainment and reality. Okay, so not because Cardi B sings about something, your kid is going to be like, okay, I'm going to go out there and do it.
Get 50% off pizza.
Okay, I think we've pretty much got the summary. So,
Yeah.
But I thought I enjoyed her perspective.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. Yeah. And of course, we couldn't do this story without
Oh,
a little bit
course.
of Benny Boy.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pull-out game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N word, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I wanna ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. It continued along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more vulgar.
Oh, he's a gift, is he not?
that's just any excuse to play that, really.
Exactly, yeah. Absolutely, I know.
Like, people in the chat or in the show can't see this, but Milo is ex-gay. I saw Vosh was talking about that. Does that really happen?
Milo, yeah. We talked about this, didn't we?
Well, I think we talked about it briefly, but I don't quite understand what happened.
This is his new grift. He's obviously not gay. He's like pretending because it's his grift. He now says that he's, quote, sodomy free. He's still living with his husband, although apparently he's been downgraded to a roommate. Okay.
Is he going to stay married?
Just a roommate who's cocky-eyed, yeah, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He's now going to apparently try and open a gay conversion therapy centre in
God.
Florida.
New grift.
He's ahead of Dave Rubin on this grift, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Well, he's kind of been forced to because he was deplatformed.
True. Yeah. So Milo's... I hope the brainworms in his head eat their way out through the back of his fucking eyeball. Anyway.
Yeah, well, that's a failed business adventure.
Oh, yeah, that's going absolutely nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Anyway, so, any more on that?
No, I think that's it for that silliness.
Who's going first?
I do want to know
Okay.
You can go first. I do want to know on what grounds Candace thinks she can sue Cardi B.
The offended fainting couch conservative clause of the First Amendment.
Snowflake couch clause?
Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't want to name any names, but I'm just saying Jefferson was a bitch. Okay? I'm not saying who put it in there, I'm just saying Jefferson was a fucking bitch. Anyway, it's time for this nonsense. Yes, it's Racist White People Month.
It is.
Yes. And we've been taking a look at every motherfucker. Kristi will do her thing afterward. I've got a little documentary
We're
thing
back to
here.
the 19th century.
We are, well, initially. It does traverse very much into the first half of the 20th as well. But we've covered a lot of... we've covered some countries anyway. We've covered like Britain and South Africa and Australia and America and I think a bit of Canada. But for today and the one on Friday, I'm going to focus on a couple of the lesser lights in terms of how they're remembered as part of colonialism. But they really oughtn't be. They've gotten off enormously lightly, mainly because Britain and France were so shit. But the point being, they were really fucky too, especially in terms of numbers. Numbers are the big thing here. And today we're focusing on the oft derided and laughed at country, Belgium. It's not really a country, is it? It's two bits of countries welded together as a buffer between France and Germany. Shouldn't be a thing, is technically still a thing. Just pointing it out there.
No one escapes your wrath.
No, that's true. But to be fair, including my own country, which gets it worse than anywhere, to be honest. So I think I'm a fair judge.
Yes, you're an equal opportunity
Harsh,
critic.
but fair. And so
harsh but universal.
Harsh, okay, you're harsh but universal, you twat. So Belgium, for those who don't know, had one particularly large colony in Central Africa, and to say that it was as bad as the Nazis would be actually a pretty apt description. Trust me. Content warning. Some pictures of human mutilation. Upcoming. Colonialism. Let's take a look.
Going up that river was like traveling back to the earliest beginnings of the world, when vegetation rioted on the earth and the big trees were kings. An empty stream, a great silence, an impenetrable forest. The air was warm, thick, sluggish. There was no joy in the brilliance of sunshine.
When prize-winning author Joseph Conrad wrote his novella Heart of Darkness, a journey into the terrifying depths of man's soul, he turned to the cruelest place on earth for inspiration, the Congo. It wasn't the Congo's inhabitants that made it that way. It was a ruthless succession of outsiders, beginning with Leopold II, a Belgian king with a lust for wealth and a...
Yeah, this motherfucker, arguably... one of the most disgustingly cruel people ever to live. And like I say, no one remembers who the fuck he is.
Nope, I have no idea who he is.
Yep. Resulted in... well, if you ignore war deaths, which is difficult to do with Hitler, if you just take people he deliberately slaughtered, Leopold II killed more. Yeah.
Passion for murder.
Leopold was a very frustrated man as the king of a small country. And he had the conviction that to be worth anything in the world, a country had to have colonies. And he was a very single-minded man about that.
King Leopold ascended the Belgian throne in 1865. 9 years
It annoys
later,
the shit out of me that he's got a dope beard as well.
I can see why that would be very conflicting for you.
As a connoisseur.
But you just separate out the beard from the man.
Exactly, that's what you got to do. If feminist frequency taught us anything, you separate the art from the artist. And that beard was fucking art. There's no point denying it. Evil man, though.
an American explorer and journalist captivated the world with his stories of peril and pursuit in the farthest reaches of Africa. His name was Henry Morton Stanley.
Stanley had discovered this area, which was the Congo, essentially, and he came back to Europe with the tales of what he'd seen there, the riches, the natural abundance, the ivory, the rubber, the gum, the palms, the trees, the timber, and this got someone very excited. It basically excited King Leopold of Belgium, and he thought, that's what I want.
Leopold was eager for his own piece of the African pie, which was being sliced up into colonies by other European powers, but he had no idea where to start. So in 1878, Leopold turned to Stanley, hoping the experienced explorer could help him take over the Congo. He did. 1 year later, Stanley was back in Africa as King Leopold's agent. He approached the Congo's tribal chiefs with land treaties and tricked over 500 of them into signing.
Obviously, they couldn't read, they didn't know what it meant, and they sold their birthright for a few beads. It basically meant that they were handing over the rights to their land and the rights to trade, and they were handing that control over to King Leopold. Because what was extraordinary about the Congo was that it wasn't, at the beginning, a Belgian colony. It was essentially personal property of King Leopold II.
While Stanley was in Africa, gobbling up a region 80 times the size of Belgium, Leopold was back in Brussels figuring out how to make his gamble pay off. In 1879, Leopold created a private company whose stated mission was to free the Congolese people from foreign oppressors, namely Arab slave traders who were kidnapping native villagers and selling them into slavery abroad. Leopold assured the world his regime, which he called the Congo Free State, would bring prosperity and fair trade to the Congo. This, he said publicly, was the humanitarian thing to do, but his true goals were far different.
Well, he didn't believe in free trade. He didn't care at all for the indigenous population. He had absolutely no humanitarian ideals whatsoever. His aim was to create a colony for Belgium and make money.
In 1887, a discovery made half a world away would be Leopold's lucky break. Scotsman John Dunlop developed a useful and inexpensive way to revolutionize travel: rubber tires. The Congo was one of only a handful of places in the world where rubber grew wild, and Leopold acted quickly to exploit it. He formed the Force Publique, an army of Belgians and Africans, and got them to force Congolese natives into rubber harvesting. It was dangerous work and required scaling the tops of trees where the valuable vines hung.
Yeah, by the way, so when people say, and I think they're well-intentioned Americans will say, everyone in Europe had abolished slavery by the time we did. It's not true. Those people were in chains, you may have noticed.
Yeah. Also, the rhetoric of that white supremacy, of going there and you trying to do good while the whole time just planning on exploiting people.
Liberal colonialism.
So
yeah, that's literally what it's called, is liberal colonialism. It's no less disgusting than actual colonialism, but with the, to use the Lincoln phrase, the alloy of hypocrisy.
Yes.
Leopold's rush to corner the world's rubber market led to a whole new form of slavery in the Congo, and a reign of terror so brutal it would become the worst genocide in African history. It began with a hard leather whip called a shikot.
They would use the shikot to punish a Congolese villager who hadn't met his quota, and the shikot basically flayed open the skin, so that apparently after 20 strokes you were a bloody pulp. And if If you had the misfortune to have 50 strokes or 100 strokes, you died. So it became synonymous with Leopold's rule, and it was a horrible, feared instrument of torture.
But to the outside world, the Congo seemed like a perfect colony, profitable, productive, and civilized, all thanks to King Leopold.
Leopold's wise policy.
They only saw the benefit to them, hence it's wise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, inside the Congo, things went from bad to worse.
By the way, I have already given you a content warning, but just repeated. If human mutilation is a thing you're not down with, maybe turn away for a bit.
When the rubber workers inevitably collapsed from exhaustion, starvation, or disease, the Force Publique shot them and were ordered to cut off their hands.
The Force Publique were issued with bullets, and the officers who were commanding these mercenaries wanted to see results. So for one of these soldiers not to get punished, if he was sent out with 10 cartridges, he had to have 10 hands of his victims. It's proof that he hadn't wasted his bullets. Often, of course, some of these bullets had been wasted, so there was this extraordinary pictures you get of living Congolese who, while they were still alive, had had their hands severed. Leopold set new standards in colonial brutality. I think he did that because he just was a man in a great hurry, and he didn't think of the Congolese as human.
Few statistics were collected at the time, but estimates put the total number of murdered Congolese at well over 10 million.
10 million. Now, that's the lower end estimate. I've heard in excess of 14 million in some cases. Difficult to know exactly, but we're talking double figures definitely.
Yeah, and this was when the world's population was also lower.
Yeah, yeah. The world population was booming, but nowhere near what it is now. Yeah.
Yeah, or what it was in the middle part of the 20th century.
No, I would absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
By 1901, the Congo was one of the world's largest rubber suppliers, and King Leopold profited handsomely. He lived the high life in Belgium and in several chateaux and villas throughout Europe.
Leopold never set foot in what was ironically known as the Congo Free State, and I think that made it easier for him. He could not look face to face with the evidence of what he had done to that country.
This big propaganda ploy really managed to disguise what was really happening in Africa, and King Leopold was able to get away with it. He was able to kill millions, but still pretend that he was civilizing millions.
Leopold might have prolonged his terror campaign had it not been for a curious and determined clerk in a Liverpool shipping office. His name was Edmund Morel.
Morel looked at the shipping manifests and discovered that while a great deal of rubber and ivory was coming from the Congo, practically nothing was going back. The main items which were carried in the ships going from Antwerp.
That's actually a good question in the chat from Gertje. No, from Joe the Cop. Hello.
Joe the Cop.
Joe the Cop. Yeah. Do we know what the population was at the time? I don't know exactly, but all I will say is that later on they give a statistic that there were 15 million at the end of colonial rule. So if you imagine 10 million, that must be, what, over that course of time, maybe a third of the population over that time?
The White Death instead of the Black Death.
Yeah. Nudity is TOS, but this shit is fine. It's a historical document. It's clearly not pornographic. I will fight on that hill. If they try and do me for fucking a couple of tits on a woman who had her fucking foot cut off. That's the...
Yeah.
Look, if they want to do me for TOS, it's the human mutilation that would be an issue, I think. But
also, this is already on YouTube. So.
True. This is already on YouTube, but maybe Twitch are a bit weird. I don't know.
Oh, I see, yeah.
I hope not, though. I hope they would understand that this is clearly a historic thing.
To the Congo were arms and ammunition, which obviously weren't going to be supplied to the Congolese. So that struck him as extremely suspicious.
Once he suspected foul play, Morel was a man possessed. He quit his job and spent the next decade investigating King Leopold's corrupt regime.
Morel was extraordinarily accurate. He was very...
No, sorry.
This is...
I've just
go ahead.
explain, sorry, the mathematics in my head I'm using there. Executioner, it wasn't 10 million in one blow. So if you talk over the course of time, it was 10 million over the course of about 40-something years. 30 years, sorry. So if we extend that out over that course of time, more and more people would have been born. So the 15 million at the end is not... I'm not saying that the 10 million to the 15 million would be the exact thing, because we're talking over a span of time. So it's a rough estimate in my head, but I think it would be about a third of the population. Ish. Anyway, whatever.
So, Kevin, had you already known about this part of it? This guy who working in a clerk's office?
Yes, I didn't know his name, but I didn't know he was just one specific person, but I knew that people had been investigating and stuff, yeah.
Because if this is the case, like this guy quit his job and became obsessed and started like just, pushing this issue. I'm shocked that the BBC has never tried to interpret this. Sure. I mean, maybe they don't want to embarrass the Belgians, but also like, fuck Belgium. I mean, it would say a lot. I mean, it would be a way of dealing with this issue. And also in some ways criticizing colonialism as well, generally for its evils. Anyway.
No, a third would not be 35 million. Oh my sweet Jesus. I'm talking about over the course of the entire thing, it would have been there. And if it's more than 10 million, I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm giving you a rough estimate. Over the course of that time, it would have been about a third of the population in total. Over that time. Not at any one given time. Do you see where I'm going with that? Oh, some people.
Do you want to do the equation? You want to write out?
I don't want to write out the equation, no. It's grim enough as it is, without reducing human beings to like fucking weird statistics and stuff.
No, just like trying to like do a little side note here to kind of break it up a little bit.
I don't want to. No.
Okay.
Anyway, Congo.
Adept at reading into this sort of boring statistics how much was coming out of the Congo in terms of resources. He would get documents leaked to him by people within Leopold's administration, people who did have consciences, who were concerned of what was going on.
It was a moral issue, I think, for him. There was a robbery going on a grand scale, and he disapproved.
And Morel wasn't the only one watching the Congo. A British diplomat also issued a stinging indictment of King Leopold's system of slave labor, warning it would lead to the total extinction of the Congolese people. Faced with world suspicion, Leopold defiantly proclaimed, "I will not allow myself to be soiled by blood or mud," and began an ambitious counter-campaign.
He would bribe journalists, he would bribe US senators, he would invite...
Surely not. US senators are beyond any such
Corruption.
inducements. This is outrageous, scurrilous accusation.
Invite people to go to the Congo and would make sure that while they were in the Congo, they only saw the nicest possible aspect of what was going on. So for every step that Morel took, King Leopold was up there.
Oh, great stat. Oh, Ryan, sorry, by the way. You were asking about world population? In 1870, 1.3 billion. So, what about a seventh of what it is now, or sixth, or whatever?
Yeah.
It and trying to neutralize it.
But in 1902, profound literary work added its voice to the growing chorus against Leopold. Author Joseph Conrad worked as a sea captain's apprentice on the Congo River in 1890, during the height of the rubber massacres. Conrad was so transformed by the brutality and death he witnessed that he wrote it all down, and it became the basis for his seminal work, Heart of Darkness.
Which I would
Black
advise
shapes
everyone to
crouched,
read.
lay, sat between the trees, leaning against the trunks, clinging to the earth in all the attitudes of pain abandonment, and despair.
He was talking about the darkness which is at the heart of Westerners, white men who go out to places like Africa, and because they are far from their family, their friends, and the strictures of the society in which they have been brought up, they start behaving in ways that would have been inconceivable if they were back home.
So they just go on a little murder vacation.
Yeah, just let the sociopath out.
Yeah, exactly. Like a kind of civilizational Rumspringer. You know? You let a bit of genocide out and then you go back to civilization for a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But
Maintain
just,
your
know,
respectability.
Exactly, but just kill, 10 million black people. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. European upper society.
Indeed. Our betters. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
They were dying slowly. It was very clear. They were not enemies. They were not criminals. They were nothing earthly now. Nothing but black shadows of disease and starvation, lying confusedly in the greenish gloom.
Conrad intended it to be an absolute blast aimed at the imperialist, colonialist system that had been set up in the Congo and the imperialist Congolese system that was being applied across Africa at that time.
By 1908, the Belgian government was forced to confront the mounting claims of an African Holocaust. To stem public outrage, it took the colony away from Leopold. The aging king was surprisingly relieved. Rubber sales had suddenly collapsed, and Leopold believed his days of fortune hunting in the Congo were over. By the time the Belgians stripped Leopold of his personal colony, his massive fortune was safely secured in a Swiss bank account.
There's a common myth that once Leopold handed over the Congo to Belgium itself, that things improved enormously and it was fine, and for the average Congolese, living standards improved and they were treated as human beings. In fact, the difference was really not that obvious. And while rubber had become of no importance, the Belgians discovered that there was huge mineral resources under the soil. In Congo, there was copper, gold. So the system of forced labor went from being applied to rubber to being applied to mineral resources.
And this is where the issue of reparations comes in. Because you've got a lot of countries, especially in Africa, but around the world, who had their natural mineral resources taken from them by Western countries, in this case Belgium, but, the diamonds under Johannesburg came to Britain, and the gold and silver of South America went to the Iberian Peninsula, that those places should benefit from, and never had the chance. Western countries built up their infrastructure, built up their wealth, built up their militaries on the backs of this resource wealth that we really ought to try and reinvest in those places now, so that, they get the actual benefit of the thing that we stole from them. Kristi. Hello.
Sorry, I'd muted myself for the movie part of it because I didn't want any background noise, but I was just saying it's an international racial wealth gap for the exact same reason that Black Americans have one, which is that for generations they were not allowed to actually acquire any wealth and pass it on and build on it.
Yeah.
It was just completely denied to them. And therefore, now they're behind. And we're like, why do we have to give them aid? 1% of our budget is so much.
Well,
really?
Yeah, because we stripped their countries of all of their mineral resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Queen literally parades around with the Koh-i-Noor diamond, which is Indian. That's just in her hat. Like, not even just on display in a cabinet. It's in her fucking hat. Mad.
I guess you could call the crown a hat. That's
it is.
completely
Well, it's
valid.
worn on one's head. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I'd never heard it referred to as a hat before. So
Well, that's, because crown sounds really grand, like it should be there. No, fuck you. It's a hat. Not fuck you, I mean fuck the Queen. It's a hat. Yeah. It's a fancy hat. It's a hat. It's a shit hat as well. Doesn't protect you from the wind or the rain. Rubbish.
And it's heavy.
And it's heavy. Yeah. And she's old. Probably weighs about as much as she does.
At this point.
Yeah.
The Belgians renamed the country the Belgian Congo and ruled for the next 50 years.
Indeed. The capital, which is now Kinshasa, of what's now the Democratic Republic of Congo, was called Leopoldville until 1968.
God.
Killed
It's like
10
the
million of
monument.
them, at least. And his name was still there 50-odd years after he was dead.
Like the monuments thing and street names all over again.
Indeed.
Yeah, it is. It's the same fucking song over and over and over. The white supremacy makes everyone not white suffer song.
Yep.
Boasted to the world of their help for the Congolese people and built churches, medical clinics, and elementary schools.
Yes, in the Congo, other seeds have taken root. Seeds that can one day reach a full maturity.
But there was a limit to how much the Congolese could achieve.
Also,
Under Belgian rule,
they built churches mainly to, again, participate in genocide, but this time culturally, by not allowing them to have their sacred religious practices of their own, but forcing them to be Catholic.
Yeah, because Christianity is love, y'all.
Indeed.
no native could vote. There was no system of higher education for blacks. And by 1956, among the 15 million people, there were just 17 college graduates.
Jeez, what? What? Sorry, what were those numbers again?
15 million population, black population in Congo in 1956. 17 graduate, not 17,000. Not even 1,700. 17.
Was Leo's wealth in Swiss banks returned to the people of Congo?
Kristi, don't be so naive. Like the Nazi gold that would be placed there a few decades after his death. No, it stayed there in the family funds. Congo is one of the poorest places in the fucking world.
Honestly, there needs to be international courts into this shit.
Oh, is that true? Hang on, is that true indeed? Oh, so this Morel chap,
yeah,
I'm being told, was elected to... He fucking was as well. That's dope. Right, so Morel, the guy who, exposed the thing, ran for office as a Labour candidate, defeated the incumbent Winston Churchill for his seat.
Kevin, you and I have to write the treatment for the movie, the Netflix version of docu for this.
Yeah, we should write the story of E.D. Morel. He sounds fucking dope.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. He beat Churchill. Fuck yes. Born in Paris, though, so bit French.
To look into him a bit more, he might be shit in other ways, but he's got a lot going for him so far.
Fair, he was born in 1873 and died in 1924. He was almost certainly a prick, yes.
What was that about his imprisonment? I'm now... They said World War I activism. Was he anti-war?
Yep. Morel played a significant role in the British pacifist movement during World War
I.
Participated
no, this is...
in the formation of the Secretary of the Union of Democratic Control, at which point he broke with the Liberal Party. In 1917, he was jailed for 6 months for his anti-war activism, which had permanent effect on his health. After the war, he edited the journal Foreign Affairs.
Really? Oh my gosh, that's a really... Well, if it's the same one, it's a very prestigious journal.
He became the most important English proponent of the Black Shame campaign, which accused black French troops of outrages against the population of the occupied Rhineland. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, that seems a bit grim. Okay.
So he pushed for exposing it, right? That's why I'm reading it. He was a proponent of the campaign that accused.
Okay, but I mean, I'm just looking at that picture.
No, I get that part, but it's a moral panic. We'll have to look into that a bit more.
Yeah. Okay. So a bit weird. Legacy. What's legacy? Arthur Conan Doyle became acquainted with Morel through his work in the Congo Reform Association. He used Morel as the inspiration in a book. Philosopher and activist Bertrand Russell said of Morel, "No other man known to me has had the same heroic simplicity in pursuing and proclaiming political truth.
Wow.
George Orwell, writing in 1946,
Jesus.
described Morel as heroic but rather forgotten man. Yeah.
True.
Author Jasper Morel Fjord states that Morel is his great-grandfather. I don't know who that is, though. In assessing Morel's impact on the Congo, contemporary author Adam Hochschild, whatever, whose bestseller King Leopold's Ghost had revived Morel's reputation, wrote, "Did the Congo reform campaign save millions of lives? For many years the conventional answer was yes, but the truth is more sombre. Some of the worst abuses in the Congo, such as the kidnapping and hostages, did not stop as a result of the publicity, but the near genocidal death rate in the territory continued for more than a decade under Belgian rule." After making this doubtful statement, Hochschild concludes Morel's movement served two great purposes. First, they put a remarkable amount of information on the historical record. The movement's other great achievement is that among its supporters it kept alive a tradition, a way of seeing the world, a human capacity for being outraged because pain is being inflicted on other human beings, even when that pain is inflicted by someone of another colour in another country. It is this spirit that underlies organisations like Amnesty International and Médecins Sans Frontières. Okay, pretty dope.
Yeah, I really feel like this guy needs a docu-series or a documentary or something,
Yeah,
because,
amazing.
I mean, look at all the people who said cool things about, I mean, okay, Conan Doyle and his spiritualism, but listen, Orwell, Russell, Doyle, I mean, that's some pretty impressive company for us to never heard of this man before.
I might have to suck this dude off. Morel regarding Churchill as a warmonger and took pride in having defeated him. Quote, "I look upon Churchill as such a personal force for evil that I would take up the fight against him with a whole heart." Yeah.
Oh, I see why the documentary's never been made now.
Yeah, exactly, because no one's commissioning that in Britain, unfortunately.
No.
Because Churchill's the sacred cow.
But he should be remembered.
And I want sacred beef dinner.
It'd be nice to have him as a counter to Churchill, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, we need to do something with that shirt. That's an amazing story. As a counterbalance to, maybe not all white people are bad.
Oh, God, no. We haven't done the hashtag not all white people during Racist White People Month, have we?
No, I don't think so. No, but, yeah. Anyway, so let's do a thing. We actually need to do a thing there. We need to look into him and do some proper research. Anyway. Enough of morale and on to immoral.
Belgians had a motto, which was, if you keep the African ignorant and not educated, he won't present a potential problem. So they deliberately didn't encourage the Congolese to go very far in their education. It was all part of these savages are not ready to run themselves.
That is mad. 15 million people, 17 college graduates.
Yeah.
Like, what? How do you even... what?
That's like intellectual genocide.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You're depriving not only the people like of that country, but the world of a lot of talent and a lot of creativity and potentially a lot of solutions to problems in order to keep them to the point where you can pay them nothing or even not pay them.
What's the Einstein quote about slaves? Einstein quote, slave. There's a thing he said.
Yeah, how slavery is crippled. Right.
No, it's the No, he said something on the basis of like I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something like, to paraphrase, when asked about his genius or something, he said it would be much more impressive but for the knowledge that millions more far smarter people, or something of that nature, far smarter people had died in tobacco plantations and cotton farms, stuff like that. Basically saying, yeah, I got a chance and these people didn't. So it's actually not that impressive, is the point he was making.
Yeah.
He was quite humble and poggers.
Yeah, and can I just also say that until pretty recently, about half the population, or anyone perceived as feminine and womanly, also never, all of that talent was lost too. I mean, there were a few. There was like Hypatia and what's the Hildegard of Bingham, and a few writers like Julian of Norwich and stuff. But really, the amount of potential human contribution, because some people's pee standing up and some people pee sitting down is just tragic to think about globally.
But now you've got the Shiwi, not a problem.
Yes, we're all set.
I think that's the moral of the story.
Well, no, they used to have when women wore really huge dresses that were really complicated to get out of, they couldn't pee, and so they set them up with basically like little metal pee cups that they would put between their legs, and then if they had to pee, they would just pee into that.
Also,
so you could just stand next to someone with pee in their dress.
Yeah, but with those big ones, you could have like a little on wheels commode.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
You could just like lift the skirt up or whatever, or like, I don't know, have it be on a lower step or something.
Or
just
not have people wear weird contraptions as clothing and just let them piss. Would be another way around that issue, I think.
Yes.
Anyway, so we're nearly at the end, people.
Patronising approach of they need to be looked after. They're like children.
They are a simple people, and to them it's all a little strange, to say the least. They need understanding, patience, sympathy.
The way Belgium was able to maintain the colonial structure during the Congo Belge, during the Belgian Congo period, was through this colonization of the mind, that the white man is a better human being than the black man. And they pumped that message into the population through all forms of education, even in churches. And the people became sort of subdued and colonized internally in their mind.
But in the late 1950s, that changed. After decades of European rule, Africans across the continent began demanding equal rights and independence. Revolts in colonial strongholds like Algeria and South Africa made the Belgians fear an uprising in their own colony. In 1960, after more than 50 years of domination and exploitation, Belgium abruptly pulled out of the Congo, leaving it a free country without a government.
Indeed, which actually was enormously irresponsible and led to a huge power vacuum and civil wars down the line, etc.
People can't do anything right.
Very, very grim. Sorry, someone corrects me, 255. You're thinking of a Stephen Jay Gould quote about Einstein, not an Einstein quote, which was, quote, "I am somehow less impressed in the weight and convulsions of Einstein's brain than the near certainty that people of equal talent have lived and died in cotton fields and sweatshops."
Mm-hmm.
Fair point, well made, SJG. Yeah, so Belgium, not often looked at as one of the evil colonisers of the world, really, but really ought to be.
I definitely learned a lot from this, so thanks for that.
Indeed, yes. So Kristi's got a thing. Are you lined up?
I have things too. I'm getting there. Got you on the wrong one though first. Okay, so also I'm seeing this in the chat. Well, I saw 2 people comment on this series in the chat, and I just wanted to take a moment because we're kind of halfway through the month. And we've been throwing this out. We never consulted anybody. Like, we didn't ask you guys if you wanted this, or even if you liked it. But given that we're halfway through, maybe it is time for you. Someone was saying they both love and hate this really interesting, horrific section of the show. I was wondering what other people were thinking about our feature of Racist White History Month. And if we wanted to focus on something else for a different month later on, would you guys be in support of this? Or is it just like, this is kind of a lot when it comes to the happy hours and taking up time on topics? So
all I can say is Kristi is interested in your feedback. That is all.
And that is all. Yes. All right. I had to put away my version of I was also listening to Ben Shapiro because it was just so funny. All right. My topic
I understand you wanted to do a bit more in real life right now racism, but Ben Shapiro is a bit recent for a history segment.
Yes.
I think.
Well, that's why it's Racist White People Month, not just History Month. But okay. The topic I am focusing on tonight is something I didn't know existed until an hour before the show when I decided to look up a topic. But I also have confidence in my ability to put stuff together. And I did. I went down the rabbit hole and I found out this thing that I never knew. If you were in America, or if you grew up in America and studied the period like leading up to the Civil War, you would have heard of Uncle Tom's Cabin. And other than like, it was a book, basically the rundown is there was a book written, it talked about how bad slavery was, and it sold a lot, and it had like a cultural impact, and then other things happened. Well,
famously, Queen Victoria cried. Didn't stop doing colonialism. Didn't stop her doing that. No,
but she cried.
But she cried because
the
blacks in the book were treated badly. But the black people she was treating badly in Africa didn't stop her.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to talk about an entire literary genre that developed in response to Uncle Tom's Cabin. And this literary genre is called plantation literature. And it's pro-slavery.
Yeah. So this was like the diss track of its age. Like she put out an anti-slavery track, and they were like, "No, fuck Harriet Beecher Stowe. I'm going to drop some sick pro-slavery verse on you."
Correct. The backdrop to this whole story, or this little part of history, was the 1850 Fugitive Slave Act. Now, in the Constitution, there's a section there. They don't mention enslaved people. They talk about bonded people, I think. However, there's a clause in the Constitution that deals with returning fugitive enslaved people. And the South, this is a period in time where the white supremacists liked the federal government. Northern states were not complying with efforts to retrieve enslaved people. They were, writing laws that helped give them protection, and the South didn't like that. So they used their disproportionate power in Congress, which they obtained because even though no enslaved person was considered a citizen, because you can't work citizens to death and murder them and not have any consequences, they wanted them counted for the purposes of population, because the South didn't have a very big white population. So if you only counted citizens, then in the House, they wouldn't have any real heft. So they managed to deny people personhood for the purposes of citizenship while still counting them as citizens for the purposes of maintaining slavery.
I believe there was a certain fraction. If I'm not...
A 3/5, correct. Right. Well, the issue of escaped enslaved peoples, as you guys know, was becoming increasingly a source of tension between the states. And I'll just read from Wiki because it's just very efficient. The demand from the South for more effective federal legislation was voiced in the Second Fugitive Slave Law and was part of the 1850 Compromise. Special commissioners were to have concurrent jurisdiction within the U.S. Circuit and District Courts and the inferior courts of the territories in enforcing the law. Fugitives could not testify in their own behalf, and no trial by jury was ever provided. But, all men are created equal, Kevin. It says so in the Declaration.
It does, and therefore, racism was never a problem.
Yeah. This wasn't really an issue.
States' rights.
Mm-hmm. Penalties were imposed upon marshals who refused to enforce the law or from whom a fugitive should escape, and upon individuals who aided black people to escape. The marshal might raise a posse comitatus. A fee of $10 was paid to the commissioner.
Isn't that the song from Lion King?
No, that's a different
Posse comitatus.
No. Posse comitatus later became more problematic. They had to have posse comitatus laws. It's a whole thing, but no, definitely not in the Lion King.
Wet ass posse comitatus?
Yes. So they got a fee of $10 was paid to the commissioner when his decision favored the claimant, and only $5 when it favored the fugitive.
So literally, you get double the wages. Which way do you think they're going to go? Ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I've never seen a more stacked kangaroo bullshit thing in my life.
White supremacy without any check.
Yep.
That's what this looks like.
Well, no, they were getting checks. They were getting $10 a piece, yeah.
Yes, yeah. The supposed justification for the disparity in the compensation was that if the decision were in favor of the claimant, additional effort on the part of the commissioner would be required in order to fill out the paperwork, actually remanding the slave back to the South.
You had to fill in a whole thing. Yeah, they had to fill in some paperwork, Kristi. That's crazy.
All right. They could also, the fact of the escape and the identity of the fugitive were determined purely on ex parte, or, yeah, that's who I say he is, and he ran away from me.
So you can just basically abduct any black person.
Yeah, purely on ex parte testimony. Yeah. All right. So the severity of these measures and the fact that they were imposed on the North caused a lot of problems. And with that backdrop, in 1852, Harriet Beecher Stowe published Uncle Tom's Cabin. And it sold very well. I think we're going to hear a short lecture with shitty sound. I'm sorry. But it sold initially like 300,000 copies. The publisher had a difficult time keeping up with it.
And there are only like 7 people in the country, weren't there?
Yes. And eventually it would go on to sell over 1 million copies. The impact of, and I'm taking this from the lecture, which I'm not going to make you listen to this guy because the audio is awful, but the impact of Uncle Tom's Cabin, if you don't know from your history books or you didn't study this period of U.S. history, was that unlike abolitionist literature, which circulated in a very, non-fictional and also persuasive way, making arguments and stuff. That stuff circulated within abolitionist circles. But Uncle Tom's Cabin was written for a general audience. So it brought the issues of abolition to a new audience in a medium that they could more easily digest. So that was its impact. Most of the book sales were in the North. A few southern states banned the sale of the book. And when it was purchased in the South, it was for, book burnings.
Ironic. Yeah.
Yeah. The other response to Uncle Tom's Cabin was this, the creation or the sudden emergence of plantation literature, which promoted that slavery was actually not so bad and the enslaved people were happy. And it was really, the problem was these abolitionists who kept agitating things and making everything, upset. What's was fascinating to me was that she wrote one book. And Simmons and Hurt's books, 2 of the ones that they kind of feature here in the article, were 2 of between 20 or 30 pro-slavery novels written in the decade after Uncle Tom's Cabin.
And that's the printing industry and the publishing industry was a lot smaller. Like 20 or 30 books in 10 years now wouldn't be that much. But back then that was a big deal.
Yes. And also look at who are writing some of these books. Obviously, but we talked about the Daughters of the Confederacy, right?
Mm.
Yep. Mrs. V.G. Cowden. Mary Eastman, Martha Haynes,
no, Kristi. Martha Butt.
Martha Haynes Butt, yes. Sorry.
Which is impressive. I can't believe that Martha Haynes, her butt, wrote a book.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Caroline Lee Hentz. Any other? Caroline Rush, Mary Howard Schoolcraft. I mean, almost half of these, I don't know if Lucian is a woman's or a man's name, but I mean, almost half of these authors are white women defending slavery and plantation life.
Yeah. Oh, God, the Ebony Idol. Oh.
All right.
Tit for tat. Nice.
Yes. So I've decided rather than just reading out wikis, which you guys make fun of me for, and I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, you do, but, and Kevin shows a video, but he doesn't get shit. So I'm going to show a video.
Because I'm allowed to be I'm a white man. I'm allowed to be lazy. It's fine.
Yes. All right.
Stop having a go at Kristi for reading wikis and have a go at her for doing D&D. It's disgusting.
All right. There's almost nothing. I mean, I managed to find one thing and it's shit. But literally, there was stuff out there about Uncle Tom's Cabin. There was this video on the anti-Tom literature. And was there another one? I don't even think there was. This is not something we're taught or we know about. And basically just the intensity with which whites were pushing back culturally to try to fight almost like the messaging war on slavery. So, again, apologies. There is a bit where it's really bad, but it's not terrible the whole way through. Okay. Yeah, I think he's lined up okay. I think we're all set to go here. Let me know how the volume is, Kevin.
The South aren't particularly happy with this, to say the least. Now,
it's all right.
He's a nerd.
He is a nerd. It says Alan History Nerd at the bottom. So, I mean, it does what it says on the tin.
Fucking geeks
Can't
everywhere.
fault him for that. All right. But the volume was okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a number of reactions. So, as we go back to the previous slide, so Uncle Tom's Cabin is a reaction to the Fugitive Slave Law. We then get a reaction to Uncle Tom's Cabin. So this is our second reaction. And the reaction here is one of anger. So one of the formats this anger takes is, it's really, again, really quite an interesting thing to happen. It actually creates a whole genre of literature. And these are known as anti-Tom books or anti-Tom literature. And I've got some examples on screen now of this. So the Sword and the Distaff, also referred to as Fair, Fat and 40. Auntie Phyllis's Cabin, or A Southern Life as It Is, and The Planter's Northern Bride. Now, all of them try and portray the South in a very different way, in particular trying to put across a far more positive picture. So the Sword and Distaff, probably the most widely read of any of these. It tries to portray this positive picture of a slave owner, and it's getting across this idea of the slaves are actually being better treated and happier than northern workers. And there's a slightly oddly named Captain Porgy, who is the slave owner, and against all struggles and everything, he works.
So it's
really
basically
hard
setting up the foundation, setting up the foundations of the Lost Cause myth, to some extent, or that plank of it.
Yeah, yeah.
The slaves had it good. The slaves are fine. Yeah.
Yep.
His slaves and protecting them from people who might take his estates and things off him. Auntie Phyllis's Cabin, A Southern Life as It Is, went under two different titles, different times, is very much the clear and obvious direct attack on Uncle Tom's Cabin. Obviously very derivative in its title, and then what we've got here is something that's selling 30,000 copies in 1832. So we're talking at most a tenth of the circulation of Uncle Tom's Cabin in the same year. It is a very unsubtle response to Stowe's novel, and it claims again how really happy slaves are. So quite clearly nonsense. Probably the most interesting one, I think, of these is one called The Planter's Northern Bride. It's written by Caroline Lee Hance. It's published in 1954, so it's a little bit later. Now, interestingly, in terms of the way the story goes, which is about a planter's bride coming down from the north and having her mind changed about the southern way of life when she actually lives in and experiences the South, it's Hance herself was a northerner. I think she was born in Massachusetts, and she moves down to the South. Similar stories, almost to the one in the novel. She was an established author already, writing novels about life in the South. This is the first time when she actually directly feels the need to defend the Southern way of life, and particularly to talk about slavery in any way. And interesting, the bad guys in her book are the abolitionists, who are these kind of evil troublemakers. So we see this whole genre. Now, none of them sell in the same numbers, but it does show a kind of a need within the South to react. Now, most of the anti-Tom literature is written by white women. Again, Harry Beecher Stowe, Uncle Tom Cabin, a white woman. So again, it's quite an interesting way of looking at the area of society and where this debate is being had, and shows a kind of a wider kind of cultural society view on abolitionism and reaction to it, other than just looking at the kind of the great man kind of history, when you're just looking at the politicians and what's been said in Congress and things like that. Right, so we then get another type of reaction to Uncle Tom's Cabin, which is a bit more sinister. There's various stories of kind of threats and attacks. A bookseller in Alabama is kind of chased out of town for having offered Uncle Tom's Come In for Sale. Snow herself recorded receiving numerous kind of threatening letters regarding her book. The most disturbing one is a particular package which are not only containing threats, also contained what appears to have been the severed ear of a slave.
Whoa. That's pretty fucko.
White supremacists. Yeah.
So some really quite kind of gruesome and kind of terrible things with all of this. The sale of the book is actually banned in a lot of southern states.
Free speech.
In a way, it's almost kind of emphasises the idea of there's no publicity like bad publicity. The banning of it in the south kind of increases its appeal in the north. And we start to see kind of an oddity in here is in that really there wasn't any appeal of the book in the South. It attacked the Southern way of life. There weren't many Southerners who were going to go out and buy it. Some of those who had been buying it to burn it in kind of public demonstrations against the book. And again, so I guess a sale's a sale, but the banning again, it seems to be an overreaction and maybe showing a kind of an underlying paranoia or oversensitivity in the South about abolitionism. The numbers of abolitionists, again, I'll state again, are quite small at this point. Quite what danger abolitionist literature would pose to the South is unclear. The southern states had already got laws in place that meant very, very few of the slaves could actually read. Therefore, the idea that they would be reading abolitionist literature and being inspired by him a little.
I think he's a little bit silly there because, I mean, you say it's an overreaction. It's an overreaction from a moral point of view, obviously. But from the point of view of someone who wants to defend slavery, it wasn't really an overreaction because within 20 years it'd be gone. Slavery would be illegal.
And the pressure was on internationally, wasn't it? Things were being shut down.
Yeah.
I think they were discussing like not importing any more kidnapped people to torture them until work them to death. Enslave the children of the people that are already enslaved, because that was anyway. So yeah, they were kind of, they felt like there was a culture war on them.
Yeah.
And you see the exact same reaction of conservatives now.
Well, that's conservatism in a nutshell. Just always try and hold back the tide of progress.
Mm-hmm. So there's only a couple more seconds left.
Okay.
Fact. And so this starts to maybe think as the scale of the reaction starts to make us think that maybe the Southern reaction is disproportionate. They've misunderstood the popularity and the scale of the sales of the book and abolitionism in the North.
So hypersensitive, over egging the pudding, conservatives yelling about something that they find slightly threatening. Of course, it was evil, so they should have felt like their evil empire was about to fall. But yeah, so this was something I didn't, one of the things I mentioned to Kevin off air was that when we read history, because there's so much of it, there's discussion, there were suffragettes and it took women 70 years to get the vote. And here were some famous white women and maybe one woman of color or something. But we don't see what they were fighting. We don't hear the horrible things that were being said. And it's kind of the same thing with when it comes to the issue of the Civil War. We know about Frederick Douglass. Well, some of us do. We know that he's dead, for instance, unlike Trump. And his
he's got a bright future, that lad, I'm telling you.
Right. But we don't see the viciousness. We don't see white people doing awful things to defend slavery. Yeah. And as a consequence, people just say, it really can't have been that bad, or, it wasn't such a big deal. And that's why I wanted to bring attention to this, because there's just so many, because I'm focusing especially on the U.S. and I'm trying to pay attention to the role of women, white women, in white supremacy. All of these things are like dots that are connecting, but they're just dots no one's really pointed out before, And this is why, in some ways, this is a case for a feminist history, not saying, but looking at the role of women in these kinds of historical events, you get a much deeper understanding of the society, not just what some guys in Congress were saying. You can see how culture was being affected and who was trying to affect it. In this case, it's white women trying to preserve their economic and social status.
Yeah.
So
well said. Well, that was I think, illuminating.
I hope so. That was my aim. I found it interesting, so I just imposed it. And also,
certainly something I'd never heard of before.
Yep, I didn't know about it 3 hours ago. And the other nice thing, I guess, I am learning a lot from doing this series, and from looking at the comments in the chat, people also are very appreciative of it. And I have not had the time, or I should say energy really, but I am going to be creating this as a series on my channel with the segments of all of the individual racist white people that we feature. So hopefully that'll be out before the first ones will start launching before the end of the month. So if you missed any of the beginning, you could go back and catch them.
Indeed. Well, actually, Carlo, good questions. Is how was it that Britain had to appear outwardly anti-slavery while supporting the Confederacy? Was there a large anti-slavery contingent in Britain? There was a pretty significant one, yeah. In fact, it was Frederick Douglass, we named him, of course, who, given in order to escape his slave master, went to Britain in order to avoid being taken back. And lived, I think it was 2 years or something in London, and did a lot of speaking and stuff, and was a huge influence on the abolitionist movement in Britain at the time. So, yeah, but I mean, ultimately, the money was in cotton. Cotton was king, and so the South was prepared to sell, and so rich bastards bought it.
Just like today.
Indeed. Yes. Yes. So. Bookmarks?
Bookmarks!
Awesome. I'll share with you and you can see. That's where we ended up with that little cute baby.
Yeah.
No, not so cute. James Lindsay might be a bit mental. The woke value children the same way they value everything, for their utility to the revolution. Useful as human shields, easy to indoctrinate, etc. No other valuing, though. Our children are the useful tools, and the ends justify the means for them. Does he think they're like aliens or something? What's he talking about? Kristi.
Sorry, my Zoom crashed, and I've already sent a report, so don't panic. But as a consequence of my Zoom crashing, I missed all of the James stuff. So I don't
it's
know.
on the screen, Kristi. You can read it yourself.
I could read it if I wasn't shutting down other windows, see if that was the reason.
The woke value children the same way they value everything, for their utility to the revolution, useful as human shields, easy to indoctrinate, etc. No other valuing, though. Our children are their useful tools, and the ends justify the means for them.
Oh, I see. Oh, he spelled capitalism wrong.
Oh, sick Marxist burn coming in from Kristi. Good gosh. Oh.
And in case it's to the utility to their bottom line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, James Lindsay is garbage. This dear God. It's worth taking a look at the full clip because she's fucking mental.
Oh yeah. Let's do it.
They call this great. They say this is fabulous. That this is the stuff that children should be aspiring towards. So at the same time, Tucker, that we have kids that are not learning hard academics anymore in school, right? Forget about mathematics and science. You can trust the science and trust Dr. Fauci, but you have these kids learning about critical race theory. They're learning that they should aspire to people like Cardi B. That you see that fundamentally we are seeing the destruction of American values, American principles, and it's terrifying. I think parents should be terrified that this
Other than the occasional blink, are we sure that Tucker Carlson isn't a cardboard cutout?
Be a robot.
Like he's not moving at all. He doesn't appear to be breathing.
You know what he looks like? He looks like one of the cartoon characters on The Family Guy when they're not speaking.
Yeah, exactly, and they just go completely still. Because your eye isn't supposed to be on them, so you're supposed to be on the person that is moving.
Yeah.
The direction that our society is heading towards. And again, we are weakening America. That's really what we should be talking about. This is a weakening of American society. We are setting the stage, and it feels like we are looking at corrosion, like we are about to see the end of an empire. America cannot survive. It cannot be sustained.
Also, good to see you admit that it is an empire. Okay, good.
Yeah. By the way, remind me there's something that Tony Blakeway said after you're done playing this video.
Well, I'm done.
Oh, okay. All right. Tony in Blakeway in the chat earlier, much earlier, I clocked this, said there was some news breaking about Tommy Robinson.
Really?
I don't know if you want to check Twitter.